Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Why don't you leave her alone, Jimmy?
Oh, you zip it, Doris.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and there's just something I've noticed in the comments section. I've noticed it for a while, but I wanted to address it here on the channel. And there are some comments that I get, like maybe when I did my reviews of We Live, where I have people come in and say, I would have never known about this comic. I'm so glad that you pointed this out to me. This is amazing. This is something that I didn't even know I wanted, or this is really, ignited my fires for comics. So maybe I was get a little jaded. But I also see comments, where people maybe will come in on my latest X-Men video, basically where Jordan White kind of confirms some of the stuff we've been saying on the channel. And, we got a little heated up. Doc was being Doc. And some people be like, oh, I'll never buy an X-Men comic again. Well, that's not necessarily what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to turn people off to comic books. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's hope that things could get better. But I am trying to be honest about what I see and, the news that's coming out and some of the behaviors going on with the comic book industry. And I think some people, well, maybe a lot of people, I'm not sure, might consume some of this stuff in order to maybe get themselves mad. And if that's how you want to enjoy the hobby, I mean, I think everyone should enjoy the hobby the way they want to enjoy the hobby. I'll give you an example. I'm a big pro wrestling fan. About 5 years, I was watching all of the stuff on Raw and SmackDown. It was so repetitive and boring, but I kept watching it, and I hated watching anything pro wrestling related because of what I was seeing in WWE. I still consume wrestling, but I do not watch Raw or SmackDown anymore. I just listen to podcasts of a couple of people that I respect, and I think they have good takes on the industry. If I hear something really cool has happened, I'll go to YouTube and maybe watch a promo, maybe see the highlights of a match that I missed. I personally like AEW. That's obviously come along in the last couple of years as an alternative. And I personally like their style of wrestling a little bit more. I like the more high action-packed wrestling as far as in the ring. I wish they would do less false finishes. Like there's way too many people kicking out of finishers. But I like the action in the ring, but I also like the fact that they don't do the same matches continuously for months on end. And I also like the fact that they don't do as many screwy finishes where people this 50-50 booking kind of stuff, and I enjoy that product more. So I get the Fight app, and I get to watch my my AEW, here in the Philippines. I used to have the WWE app here, so I could watch the pay-per-views. Then I realized that the pay-per-views were just, basically a longer episode. Well, not even longer than Raw. A lot of times they're shorter than Raw now, and you're just getting screwy finishes, and there was nothing definitive or final in there. So I just got rid of it. And like I said, that's how I enjoy wrestling. If I hear something cool happen, I go watch a clip. Maybe I'll go watch the promo. I enjoy my AEW. I'm glad that there's going to be another hour of AEW coming up. And that's how I enjoy my wrestling hobby. I can still enjoy it. It's on my terms. I don't have to consume everything that's out there. Because I know that if I continue to watch Raw and SmackDown, I eventually would end up hating wrestling and never wanting to enjoy it again. And I don't want people to come to my channel to end up like losing all hope for comic books and like hating the hobby. If you've been reading comics your whole life, there's just because you don't exactly like the content out that's coming out right now doesn't mean that you have to be buying that. There's back issues out there. There's some select comics out there that I definitely would recommend. And I'm trying to update my community tab with my weekly recommendations more often. And now on the podcast, the guys over at Comics Elite are providing me with the audio where every week they're going to highlight the comics that they read before they come out on Wednesday that they thought were worth going and buying, so people can make maybe more of an educated guess. Because I do not get pre-access to the comic books before they hit the market. Everything that I do is reactionary to what was new on Wednesday. So I'm going out of my way to try and help people make informed decisions and enjoy the comic industry as much as they can. I don't want people getting blackpilled on something that they love. If you've been reading comic books and you end up giving it up, after 20 years, I think that sucks. Especially when there's so many different ways that you can enjoy comics. just because Christopher Cantwell wrote, in my estimation, a eulogy for Captain America to celebrate his 80th anniversary rather than a celebratory issue doesn't mean that I can never read a Marvel comic ever again. And I see a lot of people, I think a lot of people are going out of their way almost to make themselves mad or outraged. And it's a byproduct of the age that we live in right now. Like Facebook specifically will fill your Facebook page up, like your little timeline, with things that it knows will upset you. It does that because Facebook, it works in a click economy. More clicks, the more money that comes in. So they will suggest articles that they know you will rage click on. So you can go in there and get kind of your fix. And it's definitely permeated throughout, a lot of the digital economy, including YouTube and other spaces like that. I try not to get outraged or get too angry. I try to be as matter of fact as I can. Sometimes I'm pretty sarcastic. Some people think I should be thinking cynical. If I could go back, the channel would be called Thinking Cynical, because I am pretty cynical about a lot of things. And some things do outrage me. But I try to cover the things that I'm interested in, the characters that I care about. And if there's something out there that I think the viewers are interested in, but I don't really care, I'll talk about it. But you'll notice I'm not like heavily invested in it, because not everything's going to affect me the way that it does you, and not that everything's going to affect you the way it does me. But these are my real life reactions to these things. I'm not trying to egg anybody on. And I go out of my way to make sure that the things that the emotions that you're seeing or the reactions that you're seeing from me are as real as they humanly can be. Sometimes I have to hold myself back. That's the case, because we are working in YouTube, and you can only go so far. You can only say so many things. But, if you're hating and really not enjoying the state of X-Men, and having a reminder about how bad it is gives you an emotional response that is exceptionally negative, you probably shouldn't, there's no need to watch those videos unless it's like a review of X-Men, was it 20? It says 4.5 stars on the thumbnail. I'm letting you know beforehand, this is going to be really positive because there's so much good going on there. But then, when I do a Planet-Size X-Men and I put 3 stars on there and you thought that was the greatest comic in the world, don't go in that video expecting me to be glowing about it. I said it was important. I explained why it was important, but I also is thinking critical. It's a critical analysis of the comic book. I explained why the lead up to it was wrong and how it could have been done better. And that's the kind of the way I like to handle things here. On the other end, if you love, let's go with, Storm for Marauders, and you see that I'm doing a Marauders review and I'm giving it 2 stars, and you don't like the way things are going, and that's going to upset you, you probably shouldn't watch that content, especially if it's going to give you a real negative reaction to everything that's going on. And that's what media is trying to do with all of us. That we're being manipulated using our emotions and things of that nature. You have to be level-headed about these things. And I'm not above any of this. Before I started my channel, there was a time I had gotten so fed up, a little hair off my mustache and my mouth. I had gotten so fed up that before I would buy a new comic book or I would commit to even reading the first issue, I would see who the creative team was, and I would go through and I would be like, okay, what's their Twitter feed? Let me go read it. Are they talking crap about people? Are they being rude? Do they seem like a jackass? And if they did, I just wouldn't read the comic book. That's how jaded I was at that point, borderline blackpilled, where I wasn't really enjoying things. And eventually my wife's like, why are you reading comics if it bothers you that much? I was like, that's a good point. I am retired. I'm very blessed to be retired. I retired before the age of 40. Obviously, I'm older than 40 now. I'm 43. I'm supposed to be enjoying this. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I got, at the time I had 1 boy. I've got 3 boys now. It's amazing. I have a lot of fun with this. Why would I want to bring anything else in my life that isn't fun? And so that's how I've managed my hobby. Listen, Chip Zdarsky writes a damn good Daredevil. Chip Zdarsky wrote a damn good Captain America in the Defenders. He's writing a really good Red Hood Batman story right now. Why do I care if he's a jackass on social media or if we have the same politics, right? If it's going to bother you to know that somebody is pushing hard on the opposite side of the political spectrum than you are, I would say don't look. Did it affect your enjoyment of the comic book hobby? When you first started, when you had no idea what these people looked like or what they thought about anything other than at the end in the letter section when they were explaining what's going on and in replying to readers. You could really go out there and start looking into a lot of these creators, even the ones I don't really talk about on the channel. And there's a lot of them are rude, but a lot of people are rude on social media these days. A lot of the people that get upset about them being rude are they themselves rude to the creators. It's like, one finger pointing, and there's three more pointing back at you kind of thing. So listen, if you're here for the shit show, and if you're here to maybe you're not a comic fan, but you like the enjoyment, you have enjoyment with the videos, and you like kind of seeing the state of comics, and as maybe you think things are eroding. Absolutely, that's the way you're enjoying comic books. But if you love comics, and watching a review is going to upset you, it's probably just best to not look. And there are other channels out there that are a little bit more outrageous than mine. Everyone has their own flavor, and I'm not here to criticize other YouTubers. Having a YouTube channel is really hard. It takes a lot of work. I say I'm retired. My wife and my children will tell you I essentially have a full-time job. I work more hours now than I did when I was in the Air Force, unless I was like on a deployment or something, in which case, that was a little bit different. But when I was just working a Monday through Friday job, I work more hours doing this YouTube channel in my retirement than I worked when I was in the Air Force. And the reason I do it is because I like it. I actually like the comic book industry. People might say, well, you only read bad comics. That's because you're only watching the bad reviews. I actually do positive reviews. Now, if you see something's like 3.5 stars, it's not going to be exceptionally positive on the review itself. I'm going to talk about what it made it a good comic, but I'm going to also talk about the things that kept it from being a 5-star. And that's just the way I do my reviews. But a majority, and I would say a vast majority of the comic books I actually read, I like and I enjoy, and I would recommend most of them. Not all of them are great. Not everything is Daredevil. Not everything is TMNT The Last Ronin. I like Firepower. A lot of people love Firepower. I just think it's okay. I think it's good. It's enjoyable. I would recommend it. Other people would say that's the best comic on the market. We just have a slight disagreement. But that doesn't kill my enjoyment, that the fact that it's not the greatest comic ever. But there's plenty of positive content on the channel. If you go and look at the retro reviews, I need to do those retrospectives where I go back and we're looking at like the Golden Age, Silver Age kind of comic books and reading some of those really great classics from creators like a Stan Lee, or who else we got? Denny O'Neil. We got Neil Adams on art. All this great stuff. Gil Kane. Getting into that stuff, it's a great palate cleanser. It's a relief to maybe get away from some of these okay comics and go read something that's really exciting. It has greatly improved my appreciation and enjoyment of the comic book hobby. That's something that has worked for me, and I love talking about it here on the channel. Now, obviously, those are pretty positive. Those aren't new stories. Those are some of the lower viewed videos on the channel. I think over time, those will be continuously viewed, whereas some of the more like in the moment stuff is going to be viewed like as it happens. But go find some back issues. Go find like a character that you're always interested in and see if you can find that run that you want to read. And it will help you if you're not loving the current state of comics. Eric Breed, who I have on the channel all the time. You know how many new comics he reads? None. He doesn't read any new comics. It's not because he hates the comic book industry. He doesn't read any new comics because he loves it. He loves comics so much that he realizes that if he continues to read subpar comics from current day Marvel DC, that he, it's hurting his enjoyment of his hobby. So he's just reading old stuff. And he's got, what did he say last time? 11,000 comics or something stupid like that. He's got a lot of stuff to go through. He's got a lot of old stories he forgot about. And that is how he's enjoying it. So what I'm saying is, enjoy comic books on your terms. Enjoy comic books the way you want to enjoy them. But don't blackpill yourself. Don't get to the point where you think everything is hopeless. Not everything is hopeless. This week, Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America run ends. I'm going to read issue number 30. I'm not going to review on the channel. There's no need to. I think everyone knows how I feel about that run. I'm going to read it as a refresher so I can do a slight recap of Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America, and then, my hopes for the character moving forward and what could happen in best case scenario and what could happen worst case scenario. There's hope there. We don't know who the next creative team on Captain America is. It could be Chip Zdarsky. He did a really good Cap on his Defenders run. Obviously, that was led by Cap. It could be Patrick Gleason, who was part of the revitalization of Superman during DC Rebirth. He would be fantastic on that. Could be Philip Kennedy Johnson, right? He's an active duty U.S. Army. He's in the Army band. There are so many great things that could happen to Captain America following up this Ta-Nehisi Coates run. There's hope there. Do I think that's what's going to happen? No, I'm cynical. This is thinking cynical. I think that they're going to put someone that, like Christopher Cantwell, who clearly dislikes what Captain America represents, and they're going to go run with it. But I don't know that's what's going to happen. Also, another example. I refuse to read Deceased, even though my good friend Dylan from the Real Comic Book Gamer, Pele, and a couple of other people were like, you need to read Deceased by Tom Taylor. And I said, I don't need to read anything by Tom Taylor. I read his X-Men Red. I read some of his Wolverine work. And Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I was like, I've read enough Tom Taylor to know that I don't like him. At least his writing. I don't know Tom Taylor. I finally gave in. So you know what? Enough people have suggested this that I need to check it out. Fantastic. It was great. And also, in their defense, I had read the Tom Taylor Batman Annual, the first one that he'd done, and that was a great story. So I had read something that was good by Tom Taylor. When I get into Deceased, great story. I would recommend it to anybody. If I hadn't done that, there's a good chance I wouldn't be reading Tom Taylor's Nightwing right now. Nightwing, Dick Grayson, is my favorite or my second favorite DC character. I'm still struggling with, is it still Hal Jordan? I think it's Dick Grayson at this point. Does he have the greatest Nightwing run of all time starting up right now? I don't think so, but it's good. It's great in comparison what the Rick Grayson stuff was before that. There was a couple of really good Nightwing stories before that, but the Nightwing Rebirth was kind of average. There were some really high spots, but it wasn't Hal Jordan Green Lantern Corps good. And this is a step up from that. It's consistently better than what I think they were putting out during Rebirth, which I certainly enjoyed still. And because I gave Tom Taylor a chance, even though I thought I wouldn't like anything he wrote, turns out he's a better writer at DC Comics. And you got to listen to your friends and the people that have similar points of view or similar interests in characters, or you're going to miss out on a great run like Immortal Hulk. I know that Al Ewing is a little, he's a little off. If he and I were at a bar and if he said, "Can I buy you a beer?" I'd say, "No, we don't need to talk. It's all right. I'm going to go play pool by myself. You and I are not going to get along." And that's fine. But his Immortal Hulk run for the first 24 issues is fantastic. Borderline, well, not even borderline. I would say it's great. Now, I will warn you, if you go back and you start reading it, every 5 issues, there's going to be an over-the-top, hammer-on-head political message for at least one page. There was one issue, I think it went on for 6 pages. And if you can put up with that, you will love that Immortal Hulk run. But if you can't put up with any of it, then you should steer clear of that. Same thing with Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, which I think is the best ongoing at Marvel. Every 6 or 7 issues, Chip's going to throw in some social commentary. It's a little too on the nose. It makes me roll my eyes, and I continue along on the story because his Daredevil's been so good so far, especially with that Marco Cicchetto art. So, I'm here for the stories. I'm here for the characters. And most of all, I have the channel for interaction with people and getting my views out, and also, kind of being a part of the community. I'm pretty isolated being in the Philippines on this island where there's no comic book shops. Sure, there's comic book fans here. There's a few of them. My wife's best friend from college is a big Archie fan. I don't want to read Archie. So this was the next best thing. And in retirement, it gives me something creative to do and something to kind of work towards. And it's really helped me in my fandom and in my enjoyment of the hobby. Not everybody needs to become a YouTuber, but I think a lot of people would probably enjoy it. And, so I have nothing, but I can say YouTube is a lot of hard work, but I find it quite gratifying, getting the content out there and getting to connect with people. So I don't know, maybe I rambled on a little bit too much there, but listen, don't let anyone take your enjoyment of comic books away. Don't let Chris Cantwell take your enjoyment of comics away. Don't let Brian Michael Bendis take your enjoyment of comics away. Don't let anybody do that. Don't let Dan Slott take your enjoyment of comics away because he's a douchebag on social media. If it bothers you that much, don't read his book. Fuck him. If it bothers you that Christopher Cantwell wrote this Captain America story in the United States of Captain America, wait until I review it on the channel, and then you can see what it's all about. If you go over to Comic Book University, he does a ton of reviews every week. You might not totally agree with them, but you're going to see what the comic book's about. He might think it's great, and you might know that you're going to hate it. And just don't buy it. Save your money and go spend it on something you actually want. And that's one of the reasons that we got the Comics Elite podcast up. So people, we don't want you to waste your money on comics. Comics are fucking expensive. They're too expensive. Ridiculously expensive, in my opinion, for the amount of entertainment that you get. So you want to make informed choices. And, nobody wants to go and spend $5 on something they hate. Nobody wants to do that, whether it's a comic book or anything. You don't want to go and spend $15 to go to a movie and walk out realizing that it's like, why did I waste my money on that? That absolutely sucked. So enjoy the comic book hobby on your terms. If the overwhelming amount of negativity within the industry, a lot of it coming from creators and publishers, is bothering you, see if you can block it out. If you need to walk away from modern comics, go read old comics. Do like I have. Be selective on the new comics that you do read. Supplement it with older comics. And, you're like, Wes, well, Captain America 30 is going to be bad, but I have a YouTube channel. I have to read that crap. I'm going to read X-Men number 1 and review it on the channel. We have a heavy amount of X-Men coverage. Wish it was a lot more positive than it has been, but X-Men went kind of in the dumps. Do I have high expectations for Jerry Duggan's X-Men number 1? No. It's going to be better than most of what I read in Hellfire Gala. I'm certain of it. But don't be a fool. Just read the stuff that you're going to enjoy. Don't waste your money. And if you're here for the dumpster fire, enjoy the dumpster fire and be a part of that too. If that's the way you enjoy your fandom, that's the way you enjoy your fandom. But there's no reason to go out there and be rude to people and ruin other people's enjoyment or contributing to them losing hope. Because that's kind of what you want to avoid. If this channel becomes too much for you, you're like, man, that's, I'm getting a little jaded here. Take a break. I'll miss you, and we'll definitely welcome you when you come back. But, search out the positive videos. I do those for a reason. And a lot of the videos that if they're not positive, they're not negative either. They're like neutral, specifically a lot of the new stuff. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. I don't want people coming to this channel and hating comics because of it. I am very happy when people come to the channel and they discover new comics. Maybe they discover the fandom and I'm help them navigate some of the stuff that's out there that you might want to avoid because it's going to really ruin your appreciation and your enjoyment of your hobby. So that's what I got to say. Avoid the black pill. If I'm part of the problem, I'm sorry. And, be a part of your own solution. Learn how much of this negativity you can take and keep that in mind.